In this video, we are going to learn about the workflow in Cakewalk Sonar, the free instruments and effect plugins we have used, the arrangement of the track, the automations, like how do you bounce MIDI to audio, creating fade-ins, and much more. And towards the end, we will see the final result. This is how the chords sound like. I'll solo this track. I'll double click to open the MIDI. I press Shift plus D to full screen. You can hold Control on your keyboard and use the scroll wheel on your mouse to move left and right. If you just use the scroll wheel, it will move up and down. And you can hold Alt on the keyboard and use the scroll wheel to zoom in and zoom out of the MIDI. On the top right, you will see these double arrows. Click on that. It is to expand. Then you extend this a little. You hover over here. Here you will see all your MIDI tracks. I can see my chord track over here. I'm using spacebar to play and pause. You can also move your mouse cursor to the bar numbers over here at the top. You will see it turn into a magnifying glass. You left click hold and then you can move your mouse up or down to zoom in or zoom out. And you can also move it to the left or to the right. I press D on my keyboard to escape from the piano roll. Just before the chords play, there's this intro over here. I'll show you how I made that. This is made out of these chords. What I do is I freeze the chords track. You'll see this snowflake button over here. You freeze this. It will convert it into audio. You hover over this audio clip, hold Alt on your keyboard and then you left click. It snips it. Now what you do is you right click on this chords track and then you select insert audio track. Now you hover the mouse point over the clip and you will see the cursor turn into this symbol. You left click hold Control on your keyboard and then you move this up to the new track that you created. Along with the clip, you see this green line over here. So this is the automation clip. You don't need this automation clip. It's called the automation clip or automation lane. I will explain this later on in the video. For now, you right click on the lane and then you hit delete envelope. Or what you could have done is you left click hold to select just the audio without selecting the automation lane. If you right click hold and drag, it will select the clip plus the automation lane. So you left click hold and you drag and it will select just this. Then you left click hold, move it up, you hold Control on your keyboard and then you leave it over there. I have soloed this. Now if I play this, you hover over the left side of the clip at the top, you left click hold and then drag this in. This creates a fade in, and just because there is a click at the end, you can make another fade in just to get rid of that clip. You can also adjust the length of the clip by coming to the end of the clip, left click hold and then drag it in or out. I'll bring it over here. You can always unfreeze these chords. If you later on want to make changes in the chords, you hit on this button again. Just make sure that you had snipped it over here, so it will create a cut in the chords. Like if I solo this now. So what you do is you right click hold, drag, you select both the clips, you right click on this and then you select bounce to clips. It will make it one. Now we'll just give this part a listen. And then you can adjust it to make it sound better. If you click on the track name, on the left side you will see the channel strip for this particular track. If you don't see this, you have to press I on your keyboard, or you can press this expand button over here. And if you're not seeing your channel strip, you might be having one of these open over here. So you just click on it again to hide it. When you click on the track name over here or the track number, you will see that particular track in this channel strip. Like if I click on track 7, I will see the volume fader for this track. And then I can adjust the volume from here. To rename the track, you double click on the track name and then you can rename it to whatever you want. And then you hit enter. I already have this intro, so I'll delete this track. To delete a track, you right click on the track and then you hit delete track. Now for the automation. This particular automation lane is for the volume automation. To open the automation of a particular track, you hit this button over here. This is the automation lane button. And by default, you will see the volume automation lane. So what this does is, if I left click on the lane, it creates a node. And then I create another node over here by left clicking, another over here. Then what I do is I drag this one by left click holding and bringing it up. So what it does is it creates an increase in volume as it goes by this automation lane. I'll max this out. This is how it sounds like. You can disable the reading of the automation by clicking on this read button. It will not read the automation now. It keeps it at the same volume. You can always change this automation by clicking on this drop down over here, and then you can change it to pan or even one of the plugins that you're using over here in the effects section. I'll tell you more about it later. You can add more automations by clicking on this plus symbol over here. By default, it added a pan automation. This pans the sound to the left or to the right. To undo changes, you can always click on Ctrl Z. You can also delete a node by right clicking on it and then hitting delete node. On the chords track, I have certain effects added. To add effects to the track, you hit on this plus icon over here, and then you insert audio effects, and then you can enter any effects that you want. I have added the EQ TDR Nova, so it is over here. I left click on it. I'll solo this track. I've done a high cut over here, and then OTT for compression. The next track we'll see is the bass. Again, it is vital for the bass. I double click on this, shift T to full screen. I press D to escape. This one again has a high cut, and there's a sidechain plugin. What sidechain does is it ducks the volume during the start so that it gives a pumping effect. This is with the sidechain off. This is on. The plugin I'm using is called Simple Side. All the plugins that I've used in this video are free. You can find the links to some of the plugins that I'm using in the description. The only plugin that I'm using which is not free is the compressor on the master bus. The next track is this one. This is an ARP. It is following the chords that we have originally seen. On the top right here, you will see this auto lock button. Make sure it is enabled, and then I click on the number of the chords. The number for the track is 7, so I click on this, and then the track which we just opened is Helm, so I click on the name of the track. Here you will see the notes of the chords in the background, and you won't be able to edit them. I'll just right click, hold, select these notes, and I'll drag them down an octave. You can see they follow the chords. I'll solo these two tracks. Hit Ctrl Z to undo the changes. I press D again on my keyboard. I'm using the preset SF brass for this particular ARP. In the effects, I've used an EQ to cut some highs and some lows. Simple Side for the sidechain, and Valhalla Supermassive for the reverb. I'm using this preset in reverbs, the reverb 2000, and then there's this hit. It is already panned to the left and to the right, so I don't need to create an automation for that. Or I could do is I could select this pan automation. I left click to create a node over here, drag this up, another node over here, and then I drag this down. It will show you an R symbol over here showing how much to the right it has been panned, and an L symbol over here to show you how much percentage it has been panned to the left. You can select the automation by Left click, hold and drag. If the node doesn't get selected, you can hold Ctrl on your keyboard and then left click on the node. Then what I do is I hit Ctrl C to copy the automation. I make sure my playhead is at this node. I left click to bring it there. Next to the name of the automation, you click over here, it turns orange, and then you hit Ctrl V. So this is how it sounds like now. I don't need this automation, so I'll just right click on it and I hit delete envelope. Altogether, this is how the intro sounds like. Now let's look at the build-up. For the build-up, I have this kick over here. This is the EQ on it, cutting the highs. I'm using gradient 2 over here. This is to pitch it up just before the drop comes, like so. There are two ways to do this pitch automation. The first way is I enable write on this plugin. Then I move the playhead to where I want the automation to start. Like if I place it over here, and then I press play, and then I move this pitch wheel. It creates an automation lane over here. Turn automation right off, and then I can adjust this curve. Can delete the extra nodes. I'll hit Ctrl Z to undo the changes. Before I show you the other method, I'll delete this curve. Right click, delete envelope. Now what I do is I add another automation lane. I click on this drop down, go to gradient 2, and I select choose parameter. I can already see pitch shift over here, so I can just select it, but let's go to choose parameter, and then I look for pitch shift. See it here, and then I click OK. So it created an automation lane, and then I can just put my nodes here and create the pitch shift. You can see the wheel move. I'll hit Ctrl Z to undo the changes. Next in the build up, we have the snare roll. Some reverb on it and EQ. Then there is this another snare roll. It's almost like a clap with a little reverb on it. Here I've used an instrument with a counter melody. This is synth one. I've used the tremolo strings. There are other many presets that you can try out. It sounds like this. And there's a volume automation on it. There's TDR Nova, cutting the lows, and Valhalla for the reverb. Here in the drop, I've added some extra harmonies to it. Then there's this piano. This is the Intimate Grand by Labs. EQ and reverb. Here at the top there's a lead melody. It has this EQ cutting the lows, and then it also has a cutoff filter to it. This is the cutoff filter slowly opening up. There's a riser that I made in Vital using just white noise, and it has sidechain on it. There's another uplifter sample that I've used. This is a reversed kick. And then another single kick sample just before the start of the drop. This is how the build-up sounds like. I forgot to show you this part. This is a down siren that I made from Helm. What I do is I'll open the piano roll for this one. Then I place a note here. Extend it. Solo this track. Then I freeze this track. Hold Alt on my keyboard. And then left click to snip it over here. I'll add another audio track. I left click hold and also hold control and then leave the left click. Now I'll add a fade in over here. Another thing is, now when you have created an automation lane for this particular track, what will happen is if you try to change the volume of this track, I move this gain fader, it is for this track 10, and if I hit play now, it goes back to its original state. So what you do is close this at the top. You will see this gain knob over here. So now you will have to control the track which has an automation for volume with this gain knob. So if I want to increase the volume, I'll use this gain knob over here. Or else I can hold control on my keyboard and then left click on this automation. It selects the part between two nodes and then I can move it up. I'll delete this track. For the drop, we have these strings over here. This is from BBC Symphony Orchestra. Sidechain and EQ. These are the second strings from the same plugin. I have removed the original bass in the drop. I have added another mid bass. This bass is from Vital. It has sidechain and EQ to cut the highs. This is the same as this riser that I made over here, just that it is a single note playing on repeat. And then I have slowly added a fade out over here. And it is bounced to audio. This is a drop snare. It has reverb on it. This is the same snare from the drum roll. Then there's this string section playing the counter melody. This is the spiccato strings. This is the kick. Another kick. Pre-shifted claps with a reverb. Another clap. I have added hi-hats in the second part of the drop. They have reverb on it. This is white noise from Vital. Downlifter, impact, uplifters, and more effects. Then there's another kick over here. Now before we listen to the drop, we'll go to the console section. On the right here you will see these channel strips. These are called the buses. They're separated by this part. These are your tracks and these are your buses. To add a bus, you right click in the empty space here and then you select insert stereo bus. The main purpose for a bus is that if you have multiple similar tracks, like for example this snare roll and this snare roll, both of the snare rolls are going into this track over here. I've renamed it as snare roll. So what happens is, if you look at the number of the track over here, 17 and 18, you will see I've set the output to snare roll. How you do that is, this is the input from where the signal gets in and this is the output. The signal always travels from the top to the bottom. So it goes through the gain first and then it exits through here. So I've set the output to snare roll, and then what I can do is I can control both these tracks through this single bus. So instead of putting an EQ on both these tracks, I put the EQ on this single bus and I can control both the tracks through this bus. If I want to select multiple tracks and put the outputs through a bus, what I do is I left click hold on the number of the track. I select these tracks, then I go to any output of any track, then I go to selected track outputs. Here I will select the audio outputs to, let's say, the new bus that I just created. It's called bus K. So I'll select to bus K and then I hit OK and it will change all the outputs to this particular bus. This is usually used to glue tracks together. Like if I have layers of leads, I can compress them together by adding an effects like a compressor. Now let's listen to the final result. And that's it for this video. Thank you for watching.